Hi everybody, welcome to geometry class. Today we are going to learn about the areas of circles and sectors. So we're going to start with the area of a circle. The formula for the area of a circle is right here at the top. Area equals pi r squared. So what that means is to find the area, which is the amount of square units inside of the circle. So it'd be like the shaded portion of the circle. We take the number pi, which you may have approximated as 3.14 in the past, but we would probably do better using a few more digits for accuracy. So if you have a calculator, in your phone even, you probably have a pi button, especially if you turn it sideways. And so there are a few more digits available for you, 3.141592654. You don't have to memorize that, but you can just use the pi button in your calculator. And then you multiply that times the length of the radius squared. And of course, we are very familiar with what the radius of the circle is. That is going to be the distance from the center point to any point on the circle itself. Okay, so the directions here say find the area of each circle, round to the nearest tenth. So we actually only need one number after our decimal here. So for number 1, we're going to write our formula. Area equals pi r squared. And all we really need to find on the circle to use this formula is what is the radius. And they give it to us on this problem. It's just 5. So the area equals pi times 5 squared. So then you can type that in your calculator. Pi times 5 squared. And that gives you 78.5 if we round to the nearest tenth. Okay, number 2. Same formula, we're finding the area of the circle. Area equals pi times r squared. And this time they do not give us the radius. They tell us all the way across the circle is 20 meters. So that's actually the diameter. You'll remember that the diameter is twice the radius. So to get the radius, we just divide this by 2. What's half of 20? Well, that would be 10. So times 10 squared. And so then if you type that into your calculator, you're going to get that the area is equal to 314 point, it's 15. So you would, if you're rounding to the tenths, that 5 will move the 1 up to a 2. So 0.2 would be rounded to the nearest tenth. Oh, and I did not include units on these answers. The first one is in inches squared, and this one is in meters squared. So your units for areas are square units. All right, number 3. Area equals pi times your radius squared. They give you the radius is 9.5. So the area equals pi times 9.5 squared. And you'll type that into your calculator. Whoops. And you get area equals 283.5. And our units were inches on our radius, so it'll be inches squared for the area. All right. You might want to pause your video and try number 4, 5, and 6 on your own. These are very similar to the ones we just did and would give you some extra practice so that you can check and make sure you're on the right track. But I'll go ahead and go over these now so you can see how you did. So our area formula is pi r squared. They gave us the diameter of this circle is 11. So I take half of 11, or 11 divided by 2, which would be 5.5. for my radius and square that. So pi times 5.5 squared equals 95.0 feet squared, because the answer is 0.03, and that 3 isn't big enough. It'd have to be a 5 or greater to change our 0 up into a 1. All right, number 5. The area formula for the circle is pi r squared. Again, they gave us the diameter all the way across the circle, so I'm going to divide that by 2 to find the radius. Half of 88 is 44. And so pi times 44 squared is, oops, why did I write my pi here again? 6,082.1 meters squared. All right, number 6. The area formula is pi r squared, and they give you the radius is 11. So this is pi times 11 squared. So this is going to be an area of 380.1 inches squared. All right. Hopefully you did really well on those. Now we're going to move down here to the bottom. It says find the indicated measure and round to the nearest tenth. So on number 7, they give you the area of the circle and they ask you to find the diameter. This is going to be a multi-step problem. So for number 7, the first thing I recommend that you do is write out the area formula. Area equals pi r squared. Now, the only number given in the problem is this 153.9. That's the area, so 153.9 will go here. And that equals pi r squared. So now I have to get the r by itself. The way I do that is start by dividing both sides by pi. You can do that in your calculator. 153.9 divided by pi equals 48.98. That should actually round to 49.0 equals r squared, because these pi's canceled out. And now to get the r by itself, you have to take the square root on both sides. Here, let me write this again a little more neatly for you. So now we're going to get rid of the square by taking the square root on both sides, because square roots and squares cancel each other out. So we do the square root of 49, which is 7. Now, that's the radius. They didn't ask us for the radius. They asked us for the diameter. So if you'll remember, the radius is halfway across the circle. The diameter is all the way across the circle. So we have to double the radius to get the diameter. So we're going to say diameter equals twice the radius, 2 times the radius. So the diameter equals 2 times 7, and the diameter is 14. And it said square centimeters for the area, so this would be 14 centimeters for the diameter. The diameter is a length, so it's not in square units. All right, number 8 says, find the diameter of a circle with an area of 490.9 square millimeters. So number 8 is just like number 7. Come over here and do it to the right. Running a little bit shy on room here. Feel free to use additional sheets of paper. Number 8. So we're going to start by writing the formula pi r squared. And we're going to fill in the area. They gave us the area is 490.9. That equals pi r squared. So we're going to solve for the radius by starting by dividing by pi on both sides. So that will get rid of the pi. So we do 490.9 divided by pi, which gives us 156.3. And now, to get the r by itself, we have to take the square root on both sides. Square roots cancel out squares. So the square root of 156.3 is approximately 12.5. And now that's your radius. The diameter is twice the radius, just like in the last problem. So we're going to have to multiply 12.5 times 2 to get our diameter. 12.5 times 2 is equal to 25. So the diameter is 25 millimeters for number 8. Okay, so number 9 says the area of a circle is 907.9 square inches. Find the radius. This problem is actually a little bit easier than number 7 and number 8 because we don't have the added step of having to find the diameter after we found the radius. We just stop once we know the radius. So we know the area formula for the circle is area equals pi r squared, but for our area we can fill in 907.9 equals pi times the radius squared. So we're going to divide by pi. 907.9 divided by pi equals, it comes to 288.99, so that's going to round to 289 equals the radius squared. So then we're going to take the square root on both sides to get r by itself, and the square root of 289 is a nice number, 17. 17 inches is the length of the radius. All right, number 10. I suggest you pause your video and try this one on your own, then play it again to see if you got this one right. So it says to find the radius of a circle with an area of 63.6 square feet. So the area is 63.6. That equals pi r squared. We begin by dividing by pi on both sides to get the r squared alone. 63.6 divided by pi is 20.2. And then we have to take the square root on both sides to get the square away from the r. So the square root is going to be, rounding to one number after the decimal, 4.5. And the units would be feet for this radius. All right, we're ready to go on to the other side, and we will be learning about the area of a sector. Okay, so what is a sector? Well, if you look at this picture, a sector is a piece of a circle, sort of like a slice of pizza or a slice of pie, not the number pi, like P-I-E that you eat. So to find the area of a sector of a circle, we're going to use this formula. Area equals x over 360 times pi r squared. So you'll notice the pi r squared is the same as the area of the circle formula that we used on the other side. So we're multiplying this by x over 360. X is the degrees, like this is 36 degrees, of your central angle. And 360, of course, is how many degrees there are in the whole circle. So it's like we're taking a fraction of the whole area, the number of degrees of our shaded area over the total, 360. So that's how we find the area of a sector formula. I also want to point out that this formula is not on the geometry formula chart where the area of a circle formula is. So this x over 360 part is something that you need to know, that you're taking that proportion of the total area. Okay, so let's look at the examples. Number 1, the first thing we want to do is write the formula. Area equals x over 360 times pi r squared. So x is the degrees of the central angle. So for this problem, they give us x is 45. So area equals 45 over 360 times pi times the radius, which is the distance from the center of the circle to the circle, which is 3 here. So times 3 squared. Now, to do this in your calculator, you can go alpha y equals, number 1, 45 over 360 times pi times the radius, which is 3 squared, which gives us 3.5. Area equals 3.5 because it's rounding to the nearest tenth. And our units would be square feet. Now, if you're doing this in your phone calculator, you might have to break this into more pieces to multiply it out, unless you're using an app like Calculate 84, the free app that actually works just like your graphing calculator. If you have trouble with the calculations, feel free to email me. All right, number 2. Number 2 is exactly the same as number 1. So I don't think that's necessary that we do that. We're going to omit number 2 since it's exactly the same as number 1. Now, number 3 is a little different because the shaded area is the big portion of the circle, not the little slice. The little slice is like what they've taken out. So the way we can do this, they don't tell us how many degrees this central angle is. They tell us how much the little sliced out piece is. So to get the big central angle, we just go 360 minus the little sliced out piece, which is 20. So that will leave us with 340. So the area will equal 340 over 360 times pi times the radius, which is 7, squared. So we're going to go 340 divided by 360. Ah! There goes my camera. Times pi times 7 squared, which gives us 145 point, one number after the decimal would round that 3 up to a 4 because it's 3/8. And the units would be meters squared. All right. Number 4. The degrees of the central angle is 15 degrees over 360 times pi times the radius of 20 squared. So that's how we'll find the area. And that gives us an area of 52.4 square feet. All right, number 6 is a lot like number 3. You might want to pause your video and see if you can do this one on your own. So they give you the degrees of the taken out slice, but we need to find the shaded area, which is the big part. It's kind of like a little Pac-Man guy. So we're going to go 360 minus 36 to find how many degrees the big portion should be. 360 minus 36 is equal to 324. So our area equals 324 over 360 times pi times the radius, which is 10 squared. So the total area should be 282.7 square meters. All right, number 6. We have area equals the degrees, which is 88 over 360 times pi times the radius, which is 7.5 squared. So we type this in the calculator. And you'll get that the area is equal to 43.2 centimeters squared. All right, we're ready for the last problem. Sandwiches. For a party, Samantha wants to have finger sandwiches. She cuts sandwiches into circles. If she cuts each circle into 3 congruent pieces, what is the area of each piece? So here's our picture. We want to know the area of one piece. So there's like the shaded area. Now, the formula, because this shape is a sector, is degrees over 360 times pi times the radius squared. Now, 2.5 is easy to see the radius. 2.5 will go there squared. That's how long it is from the center to the outside of the circle. But they don't tell us how many degrees this sector of the circle is. Next time you need a piece of pizza, you should remind yourself of your geometry vocabulary and say, would you please pass me a sector of the pizza? Anyways, the total degrees in a circle is 360. And the important thing in this problem is that these 3 pieces are congruent, same size, same shape. So if each one is the same, then their central angles are the same, so we can take 360 divided by 3 to get the degrees of the central angle. So that would be 120. So it's going to be 120 over 360 times pi times 2.5 squared. So all we have to do is type that into our calculator. And the area equals 6.5 square inches. All right. Have fun calculating areas of circles and sectors, and have a great day. Bye-bye.